A lot of people were asking about how to find y-intercepts, so I found these little pictures that maybe could help us. All we're talking about when you have a y-intercept is where your line crosses the y-axis. So that blue dot right there is the y-intercept. And see that coordinate 0, y? It means you're 0 over. You don't go anywhere over on the x-axis, left or right. And then you're however high up or down you are. So it looks like in this case it's 1, 2, 3 spaces up. For the x-intercept, it's just the opposite. It's where your graph crosses the x-axis. So here's the x-axis, and the line crosses right there. So that's where the x-intercept is. For the x-intercept, the y number is 0 because you aren't anywhere up or anywhere down, above or below the x-axis. And then the number for x is just how far over you are on the x-axis. In this case, it looks like it might be 2 over. So here's where the equation, our favorite, y equals mx plus b, comes in. All you need to do is figure out the m and the b. To figure out the slope, the m, we do the rise over the run, or like what I said in class, it's always the change in y over the change in x. If you have a table, you can figure that out. Or sometimes it'll tell it to you in the words of a problem. So just like we see on the graph, to get the y-intercept, you put 0 in for x. So you would plug 0 in right there, and here's what will happen. Any number times 0 will be 0. And that's great, because then you just have y equals b. So your y-intercept is whatever that number is. If you want to figure out the x-intercept, then you do the opposite. You want x, so put 0 in for y, and that's what we did in class today. When you solve it, you'll end up with that little equation, x equals negative b divided by m. So if using that little equation helps you, then that is great. Here's how we can figure out the y-intercept from a table. If you look at the little picture right here, remember the y-intercept is when x is 0. So in the table, we look at when x is 0, and sure enough, that red circle has the y-intercept 0, 2. So that's the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and figure out an equation for that table, just to practice. We know we want y equals mx plus b. So we already know what the y-intercept is. We already know that it is 2. So we're going to put a 2 right there. And now all we have to figure out is what the slope is. So we have to figure out what's the change in y divided by the change in x. Well, let's look at all these y's. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Those are going up by 2 every time, right? So far, our slope is 2 over how far the x is going up. Each time, they're going up by 1. Up 1, up 1, up 1. So our slope is just 2, and we can put that number in that equation. So that'd be the equation for that table right there. Hopefully that helps you a little bit, figuring out what y-intercepts are. Maybe just having that picture in your mind will help you figure out what to do when you want to find the y-intercept.